Welcome to the Did You Know series of the Voices of Life podcast, a ministry of the Church for Life. A place where faith speaks, where history breathes, and where hope finds its voice again. Each episode is crafted to inspire, to strengthen, and to guide you on your walk with God. And now, to lead us through today's journey, here is your host, Pastor David.
Welcome to Voices of Life, a ministry of the Church for Life. I'm Pastor David. Today we're exploring 4 remarkable moments in American and world history, all of them happening on August 14th. These events stretch from the early days of our republic to the closing chapter of World War II. And together they tell a powerful story about America's place in the world. Let's begin. Did you know that on August 14th, 1795, President George Washington formally ratified the Jay Treaty? The Jay Treaty was a diplomatic agreement that helped prevent the young United States from being dragged into another war with Great Britain. The document explains that although the treaty was signed in London on November 19, 1794, Washington's act on August 14th was the moment the United States officially accepted it. And it so states, Washington formally ratified it on August 14, 1795. At the time, America was still fragile. British troops occupied forts in the Northwest Territory. American ships had been seized, and unresolved financial disputes lingered from the Revolution. Washington feared that without diplomacy, the nation could be pulled into Britain's war with the revolutionary France. John Jay negotiated the treaty, securing British evacuation of frontier forts, arbitration procedures, and a framework for peaceful commercial relations. But the treaty was controversial. Federalists supported it. Jefferson Republicans fiercely opposed it. Washington himself became the target of public criticism. Yet Washington believed peace was essential for America's survival. His decision reflected a principle that would echo throughout his farewell address. The United States must avoid unnecessary entanglement in European conflicts. The first, August 14th, reminds us that America's earliest leaders understood something profound. Independence required wisdom, patience, and sometimes an imperfect compromise. Did you know on August 14th, 1935, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act, one of the most transformative laws in American history. Roosevelt signed it in the White House Cabinet Room at approximately 3:30 p.m. on August 14, 1935. America was deep in the Great Depression. Millions were unemployed, banks had failed, and older Americans had little or no retirement income. Roosevelt's New Deal sought to stabilize the economy and provide a safety net for the citizens. The original Social Security Act created far more than retirement benefits. It established unemployment insurance aid for dependent children, assistance for the blind and physically handicapped, maternal and child welfare programs, public health initiatives, and the Social Security Board. It was not simply rubber stamped. The House passed it 372 to 33. The Senate passed it 77 to 6. After conference negotiations, Roosevelt signed the final bill. Importantly, the document reminds us that the 1935 law was not identical to today's Social Security system. Disability insurance, Medicare, and expanded coverage came later. Still, August 14, 1935 marks a turning point, the moment the federal government assumed a larger role in protecting citizens from economic insecurity. It remains central to debates about federalism, personal responsibility, and social insurance. Did you know that between August 9th and 12th, 1941, and publicly announced on August 14th, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Prime Minister Winston Churchill met secretly aboard naval vessels in Plancia Bay, Newfoundland, to shape the future of the world. They knew that in the post-war era, there would have to be some strict measures to help everybody get back to where they were prior to the war. So this meeting produced the Atlantic Charter, a joint declaration of principles for the post-World War. It was not a treaty, not a binding agreement, and it did not commit the United States to enter World War II, but it became one of the intellectual foundations of the modern international order. It had 8 principles. The Charter declared that there'd be no territorial expansions, no territorial changes without the consent of the people concerned, the right of the people to choose their own government, restoration of self-government to those deprived of it, international economic cooperation, freedom from fear and want, freedom of the seas, and disarmament of aggressor nations and a broader system of collective security. These principles would influence the declaration by United Nations, the creation of the United Nations post-war independence movements, and the global conversation about self-determination. One of the most moving moments of the Atlantic Conference was a joint church service held aboard HMS Prince of Wales. Roosevelt and Churchill worshiped together with sailors from both nations, singing hymns, reading scripture, and praying for a world free of tyranny. Churchill later said the service stirred him deeply, especially when the congregation sang, "O God, help in the ages past." He believed the moment symbolized the shared spiritual heritage of the English-speaking people and the moral purpose behind their struggle. For Roosevelt, the service reflected the same conviction, that the fight against fascism was not merely political or military, but moral. This August 14th reminds us that even in the darkest days of war, leaders paused to worship, to seek God's guidance, and to affirm the spiritual foundations of freedom. Did you know that on August 14th, 1945, President Harry S. Truman announced that Japan had accepted Allied surrender terms, though the war was not formally over. He said that Japan had accepted the Potsdam Declaration and arrangements were being made for the actual signing. Because of the international dateline, Truman's announcement occurred on August 14th in the United States, while Emperor Hirohito's broadcast was heard in Japan on August 15th. The formal surrender ceremony took place later on September 2nd, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. Japanese representatives signed the instrument of surrender, and General Douglas MacArthur accepted it for the Allied powers. The final August 14th marks the moment the world began transitioning from a global war toward new international order, one shaped in part by the Atlantic Charter 4 years earlier. Across these 4 dates, a powerful progression emerges. 1795, preserve the Republic. Washington sought peace to give the young nation time to grow. 1935, protect the citizen. Roosevelt expanded the federal role in economic security. 1941, define the future. Roosevelt and Churchill articulated principles for a just world and worship together at sea. And 1945, end the war. Truman announced Japan's acceptance of surrender terms, moving the world toward peace. Together, these August 14th events reveal how America's responsibilities evolved, from survival to security to global leadership. Thank you for joining us for this Voices of Life Did You Know episode. History reminds us that God works through nations' leaders and moments in time to shape the world we live in. May we continue seeking wisdom, justice, and peace in our own generation. I'm Pastor David. Until next time, grace and peace be with you.
Thank you for joining us today on the Voices of Life podcast, a ministry of the Church for Life. As we close, may the stories we share strengthen your faith, steady your heart, and remind you that God is present in every chapter of your journey. If this episode encouraged you, share it with someone who needs hope. And until we meet again, Walk in truth, stand in courage, and keep listening for the voice that leads you forward. This has been Voices of Life. Peace be with you.